Hello everyone and welcome to episode 12 of Enigmatica 2 Expert. How are you doing? How do you like the pink thing on my head? It looks weird. So finally today is the day. We are going to produce mana using Shulk Minot. And as usual I forgot the most important ingredient, which is shulkers. The way this works is fairly simple. Whenever a shulker is attacking another hostile mob or another shulker, it causes levitation, and when that levitation happens, the Shulk Minot will absorb both mobs and convert them into mana. So, the first thing that we're going to need to do is to make a shulker attack another hostile mob, and in order to do that, we're going to need a Hazy Dream, which we put it right here, and we need a little bit of mana for it to operate. So, the next ingredient is shulker. We put one here, and another one here, and they will attack each other. Or me. There you go. That gets converted into a lot of mana, and if we put lenses, it should be faster. So how do we spawn shulkers? The way that you can do it using Botania is to use a Cocoon of Caprice. You put two of them here, and then you feed it chorus fruit. 20 each. So this is 20, and now this will be 20. And then after 2 minutes, you will have two shulkers. So obviously that was a very inefficient method of generating mana because it takes 2 minutes between each burst, and we don't have that kind of time because we're not generating that much mana using Shulk Minot. We need this thing to go very fast. So I thought I will use spawners from RF tools because the good thing about them is that they will spawn the mob exactly on top. So everything will be symmetrical and it will look nice and I'll be very happy. The problem is, if we put the syringe in with shulker, it will tell us that it's going to need ender pearls, endstone, and some sort of an organic material. And it's going to need it in large quantities, which we don't have. So I don't want to automate that. The thing that I want to do, which I remembered, is that mob duplicators from Industrial Foregoing have gone through an update, I think a few months ago. So they do not have range upgrades anymore by default, and this is the range that they will spawn something. So if I put a dirt here, the shulker will only have this spot to spawn. And it works the same way. And we're already getting essence from our mob farm. We just have to hook it up to these spawners and get a lot of shulkers. So that's the idea. So what I have in mind should look like something like this. The issue with this setup is that we have to be able to turn it off immediately because while the Shulk Minot is emptying its content into the mana pool, it is not able to absorb any other shulkers. You see, it just did it with a delay. So we need some sort of a timer or, I don't know, a mechanism to turn these things off and not spawn shulkers whenever this is working or whenever we already have shulkers. So let's think of something. These mob duplicators have a configuration for redstone, so if we want we can turn it on and off based on a redstone signal. And we're going to have to give it 3 independent redstone signals to turn it on and off whenever we want. The first one is when the mana pool is full. So we can hook up a comparator to the mana pool, and if the mana pool is full, it will emit a redstone signal of 15, which I think this is 13 because this is not full completely. But in that case we are going to need a 15 long redstone line, and we don't want to do that. So we're going to use a potentiometer and we're going to tell it to release a redstone signal whenever this reaches 14. So when it's almost full, it should release a redstone signal. Right now it's off. If I put it on, I don't know, 13, it's going to be on. No, okay, it's 12 then. Yeah, on 12 it is on, and if we want it to be slightly more full than that, we can put it on 13. This will turn off. Then we are going to need some sort of a timer to put a gap between spawning of the shulkers. So we can use a hovering hourglass from Botania, and depending on how much sand you put inside, it will set the timer, or we can use a timer from RF tools, and we can also turn it on and off using a redstone signal. So whenever this redstone signal from the mana pool comes in, this will turn off and we will not have shulkers. And if we cut the redstone signal off, this will activate again and it will spawn shulkers every few seconds. And the last thing we're going to need is an advanced entity detector from Draconic Evolution, which, as the name implies, you can detect entities. So right now this is configured on players, so whenever I'm close by, this will emit a redstone signal. We can configure it to shulkers, so whenever there are shulkers here, that will emit a redstone signal and turn off the spawners, so that we will not spam shulkers here, and we would save on essence and power and also avoid having shulkers everywhere. So we need to combine all three and make a contraption. The Autocrafting timer had a problem, and that was the pulse was too short, so it could not activate the spawners. I tried to use a pulse extender, but that was also not good enough, so I couldn't use it. The hovering hourglass was good, but the problem was, in order to turn it on and off, you could not use a redstone signal and you had to use a mana pulse, and I thought it will make it too complicated and I need another mana spreader, so I thought, okay, we use a timer from extra utilities because you can turn it on and off with a redstone signal. It works the same way as I explained, so we have a comparator, a potentiometer, and right now this is set on 1, so I just wanted to show it to you and I wanted to pause the system. So we are getting a redstone signal which comes through this conduit and goes to the timer. So right now the timer is set on 17 and it's stopped and it's deactivated because we are getting a redstone signal from the comparator. Also, the entity detector is here, so that will also give a redstone signal whenever we have shulkers on these two blocks, and this timer would stop, so these things will not spawn any more shulkers. And this thing is set on 17, so if I put you to 15 or 14, we will spawn more shulkers and we can see this thing in action. 3, 2, 1, 0. We will have two shulkers. They fire at each other, they get consumed by the shulk minot and get converted into mana, and the timer resets. And whenever the mana pool gets full, the comparator will send a signal and turn the system off so that we won't waste energy and essence. Also, we're going to bury it underground. I will put a dominant augment on this one, and we will have an array of mana pools around here so that we will have a reserve of mana. But I'll do it off cam, that's nothing important I guess. These guys are super loud and whenever I'm at the base I can hear them, so I'm using a sound muffler. Someone suggested to me that I can use the super sound muffler, but the problem is I don't know the name of the file and whichever I choose, it's not it, so I'm using a sound muffler. I hope it works. For the altar, I wanted to use these bricks from blood magic, but that requires a ritual which requires void metal, so for now, we're not going to do that. We're just going to make the basics and be able to make ruins and, you know, normal stuff. For now, we just leave it be. Oh, and it's nighttime. Now that we're doing magic mods, I thought we should be able to finish blood magic quests, at least this episode, because the only thing which is keeping us back is the awakened activation crystal, which requires void metal. I have a plan for void metal, so we should be able to do that. For now, I just want to upgrade my Tartaric gem, and when we get the activation crystal, we should be able to use the rituals from blood magic, which are very useful. Blood magic is not just about making the altar and having tons of LP, it's about making the sigils, making the rituals, and all the other neat stuff that the mod offers. The living armor or the sentient armor and so on. I use most of them off camera and you don't get to see them, but I actually use them constantly. So for instance, I upgraded my Tartaric gem to Grand Tartaric gem and it holds more than 15,000 demonic will inside. So the more demonic will you have in your inventory in your Tartaric gem, your sentient sword will do much more damage. Also, if you make the sentient armor, then that gives you more protection. Also, we get to use all of these cool stuff. So for instance, this is a lava sigil, which places lava. That was not a good idea. But you get the point. That's the reason that I want to get the void metal so that we can make the rituals. My plan was to drop the appropriate crystals and get the void seed without doing the research, but I realized that it has a recipe. What? And by the way, the crucible thing didn't work. I dropped the essentials and it did not give me a void seed, so this should be the only way of getting it, I guess? So it seems that finally we have to do the master infusion crystal. It needs a block of terra steel. Why? Okay, let me gather some stuff then. Now that we have the infusion stone, we can convert all of these essences into suprenium and make all the seeds that we want. I made a crafter from RF tools which can make insanium essence for us, and later we will automate this, but for now this will do. And now we should be able to make some void seeds. Finally, that is great. Also, the recipe for making void metal has been changed as well, so we are going to have to use mana dust from thermal expansion, and I think this should work. Yep, great. One Gaia Spirit ingot, and the last thing to craft is an infused glass. Oh boy. You know guys why Astral Sorcery is a great mod? It's because you have to stand here for a few minutes until the sun sets. This is so awesome, I feel very productive. And one Awakened Activation Crystal. Great. And one Ritual Diviner. So I was thinking, now that we have access to rituals, let's use some of them which could be functional for us. The first one that I want to do is a tree farm. So we have to get rid of these trees. I found the correct ritual, and the way this works is that you're going to have to put your master ritual stone here and then hold right click. It will assemble it for you. And then you're going to have to use your activation crystal by right clicking. It will activate the ritual. You put a chest on top, like so, and then we're going to have to plant a sapling. So, grow, and it will harvest it for you. And goes inside this chest. Where did this come from? Did you harvest my house? Yeah, it harvested my house. It has a huge range. I don't know how much wood we're going to need, but so far that I've been doing it manually, we have been fine. So I'm going to automate this using a Ronan Carpus. A Ronan Carpus is a functional flora from Botania, and it tries to place or plant items on top of a specific block. So, for instance, I have a ring of coarse dirt around this ritual, and if I dig 2 blocks down and put coarse dirt and plant the Ronan Carpus, it will try to place blocks on top of this coarse dirt ring. So, I drop this, it put it on here, and if I drop a sapling, it will plant it there. I'm thinking that we can use an open crate here and then provide you with a bunch of saplings. And of course, whenever a tree grows, our ritual will harvest it for us, and then it will drop the saplings on top of the Ronan Carpus and it will plant more. We will waste a bunch of saplings, but I don't think it's a big issue. I mean, who cares? Oh, and also before I forget, a Ronan Carpus does not need mana to operate, so you can just put it there. Right now we are using the raw demonic will, which is this one. But I want to get the other types of demonic will in order to make these blocks for decorations, and I want the destructive demonic will. So the thing that we're going to have to do is to make one crystal, like so, and then we're going to need the ritual of the faceted crystal, which I have no idea what it means. But we're going to hold right click, and the master ritual stone has to be 1 block above ground because this is 2 blocks high. And then we're going to plant a crystal here and put our Tartaric gem inside the Demon Crucible. So when this crystal grows to its full size, it will split into 4 different crystals. That could take some time, so I'll wait and I'll bring you back. I thought while our crystals are being prepared, I might as well fight a few withers because we are going to need some nether stars. So let us address the elephant in the room, which is my reactor. And some of you guys were not happy with it, and you were like, why don't you make a Mekanism Reactor? Do you know how much it costs? Do you know how much resources I need to gather? And resources are not the only problem. You need to find a desert. That's a difficult thing to do. After all of that, I need to make a thermal evaporation tower to get Brian. And not just one, I need 6 for Brian and 2 for lithium. Do you know how expensive that is? And then I have to convert that lithium into liquid lithium through a rotary condensator. That's another machine. And that liquid lithium has to go inside a solar neutron collector to get tritium. And that's only 50% of the job, because now I need heavy water, and in order to do that I'm going to need a lot of mechanism pumps with filter upgrades so that they will gather heavy water for me. And that heavy water has to go inside an electrolytic separator to give us deuterium plus oxygen, which we are going to dump anyway. We don't need oxygen. And finally I need a chemical infuser to mix the 2 types of fuel that we have already made into DT fuel, which is used inside the reactor. This is expensive. And then of course I have to have the reactor itself, otherwise why would you make a fuel if you don't have the reactor? And in order to kickstart the reactor, I'm going to need a lot of lasers and amplifiers. Do you know how expensive they are? They don't even stack. Regardless of how difficult it was to gather all the resources and set this thing up, we are going to use it. Our laser amplifier is almost charged. It is actually charged. We are going to need a little bit of DT fuel, so we get it like so, and then we go to the reactor and we are going to say fuel injection rate of 20. I guess that should be fine. We put you inside and we're done, right? So let's fire it up, I guess. It's functioning. That is great. So at this moment I increased the fuel injection rate to 30 and the RF generation is going up. We are producing almost 700,000 RF. I can go higher, right? So with a fuel injection rate of 60, we are producing 1 million RF and everything is keeping up. So I think I can go higher. So I put the fuel injection rate to a maximum of 98, which is literally the maximum, and we are generating 2.8 million RF. Everything is keeping up, from Brian to generating the fuels. So I think that's good. And also the RF generation is still climbing, so it's now 2.85, 2.86. That's good. Well, this thing is almost generating 3 million RF and it's still climbing, so I'm very happy. Everything seems to be keeping up, nothing seems to be going wrong. So this place is chunk loaded and I don't think we are going to need any other reactors until the end of the series. So, hi. I just realized that I lost my pickaxe again and that was a Terra Shatterer. So I don't know where I put it. I'm going to have to craft a new one. See you in a bit. Now that we are generating millions of RF, I decided to make a room for making UU matter. So I have 2 mass fabricators because there is a restriction on the ultimate universal cables that we have. So I thought that we use 2 of them because I cannot give this limitless power anyway. I have a crafter which makes scrap boxes, I'm producing a lot of scrap, and we are consuming 1.2 million RF only in this small room. And we have a lot of UU matter, which is lovely. One of the reasons that the episodes take a very long time to record is that I have to spend a lot of time on crafting everything manually, and if we have autocrafting in our lives, well, my job will be easier. So I thought finishing the base should be a priority. When I was doing stone blocks, someone told me that I should do these things on camera and not just finish the whole thing and say, oh hi, this is autocrafting. At that time I had only 3 comments on that episode, and if I received 1 comment it was like 33% of the comments. So I want to finish this base and we will do a little bit together, and if it was something that you were interested we can do more together, but I basically will repeat a pattern several times. So One of the main issues in the base was that my panels are there, and every time if I want to do something and I have to go to the machine rooms, I had to come through this corridor and go downstairs, which I didn't even make a staircase or something, and go to the machine room. Well, that could take some time and it was very stupid. So I'm now designing some elevators here. So that's an elevator block from RF Tools, and I just dropped a graphite block, which is expensive. And I made two of them because I thought, well, symmetry. I build a machine area right now and I'll bring you back. Okay, so I finished half a wing of the base. I have thermal expansion machines, mechanism machines. I'm not sure about the nuclear craft and the IC2 machines, but for now I'm leaving them there. I made the controller a bit smaller because it wouldn't fit. The 5x5 was too big and I did not have enough space to maneuver. So this is also fine. This will give me more than 1000 channels and that should be enough. I also made the Wyvern energy relay crystals. It does not require a Wyvern core from Draconic Evolution, but it does require a lot of draconium and redstone. So yeah. But that's good because each of them can power 32 machines, and here we already have like 30 machines. So let's start with the basics. We all know that a simple applied energistic system does not require much. It requires power, it requires an energy acceptor, and it requires your devices. So a drive, a terminal, and additional stuff. You can go to a maximum of 8 devices and then you need a controller. The controller does not require an energy acceptor, so the way this works is that each side of the controller will give you 32 channels because the maximum thing that you can hook it up to is a dense cable, and that has a limit of 32 channels anyway. So in a sense you can just put dense cables on each side and get 32 channels up. That's fine, that's okay, but the problem is if you have a big multi-block structure of these ME controllers, you cannot have cables everywhere. That would be too expensive and it will look very ugly. So that's where the P2p tunnels come in. So the way that a P2p tunnel works is that you have to hook it up to the ME controller and then you need to also connect it to the ME controller. So now this thing is connected to the ME controller. If I want, I can add another one here, which will be like this. And also I can add another one here, which makes it like this. So now if I continue this cable for a few blocks and then add P2p tunnels along the cable like this and add dense cables in front of the P2p tunnels. So the way this works is that you have to shift right click on the one which is on the controller and then right click on the one which is on the cable. So now this thing has 32 free channels. Then we do it with this one. And we do it with, where's the other one? Ah, here. Then we do it with the other one. Good. And we also paste the copies. So each of these dense cables now have 32 free channels. And we are only using one normal smart cable. So this is how you should use P2p tunnels because it will make your contraptions much more neat and you don't have to use dense cables everywhere. This is also my ME controller, which is a 3x3x3, and each block will give me 32 channels. So if we put P2p tunnels on top like this, and then if we use smart cables to connect it to the ME network, and this one's extra. So we take our card and copy the settings from this one, and I come, whoops. This is very complicated. So I come here, there is a P2p tunnel here. So I can right click. Something should happen. Takes time. Ah, good. So now all of these devices are active. My terminal up here is active. And this cable can carry 32 channels. This is how the system works. If you look at the JEI, we have different types of P2p tunnels. Redstone, ME, which is the default one which you make, light, item, as well as EU, RF, and you get the idea. So the way this works is that you're going to have to craft a P2p tunnel for ME, and then if we want it to work with redstone, for instance, we just right click with something which is related to redstone. You can also right click with a redstone torch, and also this one. So now this thing will transfer a redstone signal. So if I put a redstone block here and we synchronize U with U, this emits a redstone signal because the redstone block is here, and if I break it, this thing is offline. So this is also a way to transfer fluids, items, as well as energy or redstone signal through the P2p system, which is very neat. Another thing that I also did not know, and I had to test it, is that you cannot hook up a P2p tunnel to a cable which already is hooked up to a P2p tunnel. So for instance, both of these are connected to the controller, but this assembler has power and this one does not. So you cannot do this. I also didn't know. So if we come down here, these are the machines that I'll be using. This is the thermal expansion wing, everything is hooked up to power, and this is the mechanism wing. The reason that I have a lot of these infusing factories is to make the alloys from mechanism. I'm lazy to give it patterns so that it will exactly create the same things. So what I'll do is that, for instance, for the first tier alloy, I will export redstone into this enriching factory, and then it will automatically put the wafers here and then when I put iron I will get the alloy. For steel I'm using one, and for the diamond one I'm using another one, and for the obsidian one I'm using another one. Here I also have some magma crucibles, one for gelid cryotium, one for pyrotium, one for, I don't know, destabilized redstone or glowstone, and how about resonant ender? Okay, I'm missing one. It's not complete, it's just the basics. Next order of business is to craft the basic building blocks of the game, like glass, sand, gravel, stone, cobblestone, and silicon, as well as obsidian and basalt. So this is the setup that I have. I have stoneworks factories and some igneous extruders. This one is for obsidian, that one which only has water is for basalt, because it only needs one bucket of lava to function. So I hook them up to import buses, and if we turn them on and say that we want stone here and give it power, this will start generating stone for us. And the import bus has a filter for stone, so it's not importing the cobblestone, which is what I want. But the problem is that if I let this go, I will end up with having 10 million stones. So I have a ME level emitter, and if I put a stone here and say that I want to have a maximum of 100,000 stone in my ME system, so emit when levels are above or equal to the limit. Good. So I have to turn you to active with a redstone. No, active without a redstone signal. Yeah. So when I have 100,000 stone in my ME system, this ME level emitter will emit a redstone signal and turn this thing off, and we will not have an overflow of stone. I have to do this for all of them, I guess. So apparently basalt needs lava. It does not consume water, I guess. Oh, it does. So it's both of them. Huh. And of course the first pattern that we're going to make is a pattern for patterns. Another thing that I have to do is that we are using a lot of fertilizers for our garden clochers. So far I've been doing this and filling this ender chest manually. I also have a small auto-crafting system inside our ore processing center, but now we can do it using our applied energistics. So we put an export bus, we put a crafting card, and we put some acceleration cards, and we tell it to export fertilizer. So it has a recipe for a fertilizer, so it knows how to craft it, and it will always fill this thing in so that we never run out of fertilizers. I made two patterns, one for Enriched Alloy and one for Control Circuit. So if you infuse osmium with redstone, you get the circuit, and if you infuse iron, you will get the Enriched Alloy. So I'm exporting redstone into this enriching factory, so we get the compressed redstone, it gets exported into here, and all the ME system has to do is to export iron and get an Enriched Alloy. So we do this, and now we should be able to auto-craft it. So here I can order 100. And if we go down, you should be getting more iron, if I set you up correctly. Yes, and we can also put this so that it goes slightly faster. Why did I make that stupid example for an enriched alloy? It's because I wanted to show you this. We're going to need a lot of enriched alloy in order to make the induction matrix and other alloys and a lot of things in this mod pack. So I want to have 10,000 of them ready at our system at any given time. So we need to have auto crafting for it. We can program the ME system, and this is how it works. You're going to have to need an export bus and an ME interface, as well as a ME level emitter. The export bus has a crafting card, acceleration cards, and the most important thing is that it also has a redstone card, and it's said to be active without a signal. So we want you to export Enriched Alloy into this, and it goes into the system directly. So if I go to one of our CPUs, it takes time, I guess. Or do I already have 10,000? Oh, sorry. It should be off. So we put the Enriched Alloy here and we say emit a redstone signal when we have 15,000 of it. So this turns off and this one should start crafting the alloy. It will go inside, and whenever we have 15,000 enriched alloys, this will turn on and it will turn off the export bus. So if I come here now, it's not working. You know guys, patience is good. It's good for you. It does work. My mistake, sorry. Alright guys, I think it's also time to wrap up the episode before it gets super long. I have no idea how long this one is. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed it. Till the next one. Bye bye.